We're going to start the program in just a few minutes, so if we could ask everyone to find their seats, we'd appreciate it. We're going to start right at 8 o'clock. Thank you. All right, if I could have everyone take your seats, we're going to get started. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2023 State of the City Address. I want to thank Logan, our marketing director, for ordering the weather today. He's in charge of that, so good job, Logan. I want to take an opportunity, as we always do, to thank our sponsors. They're in your program. You've seen them on the screen. These are businesses that support us throughout the year at a lot of our different events, so let's give them a round of applause. And of course, once again, we were serenaded by Chris Collins today on the piano. Chris, thank you so much. Let's give Chris a round of applause. I'd like to thank our production partners, Interface Video. We appreciate their support at all our events. Cheers Catering for our breakfast this morning. We have some volunteers that help us with our check-in this morning, so we really appreciate their help. And of course, the hardworking Chamber of Commerce staff of Margie, Cheryl, and Logan. Let's give all those folks a round of applause. We have a lot of elected officials or individuals representing elected officials in the audience. If you represent an elected official or are in fact an elected official, will you stand so that we can thank you for your service? also like to take a moment. We have some Chamber of Commerce board members in the crowd. If you are currently serving as a Chamber of Commerce board member, could you stand so we can thank you for your service? At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. David Uhl to the stage, who will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of inspiration. And as David makes his way to the stage, I'd also like to introduce the Lancaster City Police Department's Honor Guard to present our colors.
Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's good for us to recognize how different we all are. Our talents, our dreams, our backgrounds, our occupations. No one is exactly the same as anyone else. Our thumbprints and even our voices tell us how unique we are. Yet we're thankful that we can take these differences and mobilize them for the good of our community. In our differences, we can come together, think together, and move together toward a common goal. We're thankful for our individuality and also the common bond of making Lancaster a great place to live, work, and play. May we all continue to do our part to ensure a vibrant and strong and safe community now and in the future. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, David. Each and every year, the Chamber of Commerce enjoys the privilege to work with the City of Lancaster to bring you the State of the City Address, where we learn a lot of great things that are going on in our community, about our city leadership, and about great projects that our city is embarking on. This year's no different. We're excited to hear Mayor David Scheffler's address today, and this being his swan song, if you will, as serving mayor for the City of Lancaster. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Mayor David Scheffler for the State of the City Address.
Well, good morning, everyone. Give me a minute to get the correct presentation up here. If I could get my mouse to work here. Of course it wants to be stubborn this morning. Okay, here we go. What a turnout. Full house. I don't know if this is a record crowd, but it's got to be pretty close to it. Something over 220 people I know. So thank you all for coming out to hear my last State of the City. Again, I'd like to join Travis in thanking the chamber staff, Chris, the color guard, the caterers, and everyone who worked hard to get this together. They were out here yesterday morning getting all this set up. They worked hard, and certainly all the organization paid off. Also like to thank Bob Campetti and Tom Russo for live streaming this, so my wife in Florida can watch it this morning, and lots of other people. So we have a lot going on in the city. The last couple of years, I've had trouble keeping it in the allotted time, so I've cut back to just the core things that I want to talk about, and Travis told me he has to leave at 9 o'clock to get to Chamber of Commerce Executives meeting in Columbus, and he didn't promise that he wouldn't turn out the lights when he left. So that's kind of my thing to cut off. So I like to start out by saying the state of the city is strong, and things have improved significantly over the last couple of years, in large part to the city residents and voters who had confidence in us to vote a safety forces income tax increase in the fall of 2020, and it's made a huge difference. Also, we're strong because of our city employees. At my first State of the City in 2018, at the end of the meeting, somebody asked me, I'd been mayor about 4 months at that time, what my biggest surprise was. And I said, it was an easy answer. My biggest surprise is the city employees and how dedicated, conscientious, hardworking, and resourceful they are. And I have the same answer today. My biggest surprise is the strength of city employees on our staff. So I would like to ask them all to stand up and take a bow, and please join me in giving them. Come on, everybody, stand up. City council members, our city employees, city council members, Larry Ailes. And thank you for being the people that you are and making the city what it is. So I guess I'm going to have to use my trackpad this morning. So I've cut down the agenda. We're going to talk about jobs, housing, streets, safety forces, planning for the future, and a few announcements, most of which are not a surprise. So again, I'm going to try to keep it at 9 o'clock. But we'll see if I can do that. It's a tough task because I like to talk, and I can talk for a long time about the city. So jobs is the first thing, and for many years and early on in my term, I kept seeing on social media that there are no jobs in Lancaster except retail jobs and minimum wage jobs, and I knew that wasn't true. And I still see that occasionally. Just last week, I saw that posted on social media that there are nothing but retail and minimum wage jobs in Lancaster. And one of the things I want to do this morning is to dispel that idea because it's not true. This is a graph of jobs reports that is produced by the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services, and it shows from January 2018 until December the track of our workforce, how many people are out there that are of work age, and the actual jobs in Lancaster. And back in January of 2018, they indicated we had 16,800 jobs, and at the end of December of 22, they said 17,900 jobs. So jobs have gone up, and that's nice, and it comes from some bureaucrats in Columbus. So do we believe it? I don't know, but is there other ways that we can show that we actually have had an increase in jobs? So this is a graph that we can determine from our city income tax department, because employees that live in Lancaster and work outside in a city that pays city income tax, they get a credit on their Lancaster city income taxes for tax that they pay to another city. And this shows consistently, at least in the lower income levels, that the number of people commuting outside of Lancaster has decreased considerably over the years. So people that earn under $25,000. And it surprised me when I first saw this that so many people that earn under $25,000 actually travel somewhere else to work because a lot of their salary is going to be eaten up by commuting expenses. So that has consistently gone down. It kind of leveled off in 2021. 2021, by the way, is the last available numbers because the 2022 tax returns won't be completely filed until October of this year. From 25,000 to 50,000 also declined every year. So either they're not working or they're working in Lancaster. And we can look at other ways to see that, yes, they are working, and employment in Lancaster is continuing to grow, like Jobs and Family Services say. In the higher income brackets, from 75 to 100,000 and more than 100,000, it has remained consistent or actually gone up a little bit. So either people that work, say, in another city, like at Ohio State University or Battelle or Nationwide Insurance or Chase Bank, either move to Lancaster because it's a great place to live, or more people have traveled to Columbus to work. So at least since 2017, a net of 785 fewer people have filed for credits for pay they paid to other cities. So we know that more people are working in Lancaster instead of somewhere else. So we can also look at income tax collections from employee withholding. So from 2018 to 2020, and even before that, we had a history or a trend of our city withholding taxes going up about 2.5% a year. So that's shown here in the graphs, 2018, 19, and 20, and the brown graphs are what we projected, and the blue is what actually happened. So in 2021, that's the first year of the increased city income tax, so the collections went up 0.45% for that increase, plus 2.5%. So this is what we would have projected back then for 2021 and 2022. So what actually happened? So the blue line here, the dark blue in 2021, is the city withholding tax we actually collected, so significantly higher than the 2.5% trend. So we know that more people are working in Lancaster, they're making more money, so we're collecting more, again, thanks to the voted increase in the fall of 2020. But strong employment. We've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of new jobs, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. But we also have construction workers in town that are doing it. So let's go through some of the jobs that we know have been created. Magna, 600 jobs. Their initial commitment to Jobs Ohio and One Columbus when they came to town was 250 jobs, which they quickly got to. And in 2022, they increased that, do some additional work they had and additional lines to 600 jobs. And if you go by the Magna plant on Mill Park Drive, during the day, that parking lot is chock full. If you go by on Saturday and Sunday, there are many cars in the parking lot for people that are working extra. So a lot going on there. Oops, let's back up. Anchor Hocking. Anchor Hocking is certainly our long-term big employer in Lancaster. Many people don't know that for many years they were down to one tank. At full capacity, they have 3 tanks, which is the big vats that they melt the materials to make glass, and they're huge. And if you ever get a chance to tour that, you should take advantage of that. It was a pretty impressive operation. But in the last 5 years, they have added 250 jobs because they put the second tank in operation, producing a lot more. We're going to talk more about them in a bit. Fingers here. South Central Power consolidated 190 jobs from 3 other locations. 2 of them, I think, were in Fairfield County, 1 in Canal Winchester, 1 in Circleville, and certainly their corporate headquarters that was out on 188 and Coon Path Road. Again, drive down Mill Park Drive. They have a beautiful headquarters, one in addition to our industrial park. It's beautiful. It makes the whole place look alive and well, and we really appreciate their faith and confidence in the city of Lancaster. Blue Label Packaging, out across from our cereal plant where 37 peels off from East Main Street. They have made 3 additions to their operation out there, manufacturing warehouse and a new corporate headquarters. Again, a very impressive place. They've added 100 jobs, and they are very techy, high-paying jobs. They got a beautiful place out there and do great work. They are starting a new product line and are going to be adding more jobs and more plant in the next couple of years, and we're going to talk more about that later also. Chode Integre recently purchased the city's spec building out on Mill Park Drive. Their Lancaster location is their first North American plant. They make second and third tier auto supplies and also parts for TVs and other high-tech equipment. They are currently ramping up installation of their equipment. They're doing some new product things. They have done some testing of a new process and new product lines, but they are slowly ramping up, and we are happy to have our first Japanese manufacturer in the city of Lancaster. Serva Technologies, that's been big in the news lately. It used to be called Retrieve. It's out in the East Side Industrial Park at the corner of Commerce and Quarry Roads. They recycle batteries, and they recently announced a $200 million plant addition out there to recycle car batteries. And as part of that, they got a $75 million grant from the Basic Infrastructure Act to help with that process. And they have been working closely with a lot of our city departments, engineering, stormwater, water pollution control, to make sure that plant is off on the right foot. We're all together on the same page. They're not causing us any problems. We're not causing them any problems. So we're happy to have them. They have ramped up jobs over the years, but big things to come at Serva Technology. Trilogy Health, out on 37 across from OUL. A lot of construction going on out there. Up on the hill to the west side of Route 37. They will have 125 jobs. It's skilled nursing care, memory care, assisted living, independent living, patio homes, big job, construction, a lot of nursing, and good paying jobs. CFM Global, that is on South Ewing Street, and it kind of sits way back from the road. It's an old Lancaster glass plant that they've rehabbed. They started out, their early production was a polyester line of filters. They are adding a fiberglass line of filters, and they'll be adding more jobs as they get that line up and running. Alligard, just in the news last week. Alligard is a company that has 10 or 12 locations all across North America. They purchased a Lancaster company and have already increased employment from 18 to 50 jobs, and they're in the process of adding another 85 jobs. And they start out with rosin. They make these big, giant blocks of styrofoam, which they then cut and mold into products for the automotive industry and other companies. Google Data Center. You all probably realize by now that Google never discloses the number of employees they have at any location, but we know there are jobs coming. They are going gangbusters out there, and again, drive out Wiley Road if you want to see something that's pretty amazing, and they're going to be here for a long time. I think I may have said this last year, but they told us that they work here, they live here, and they spend money here. So we're happy to have Google and for many years to come. But we also have construction jobs, a lot of construction jobs. Obviously, the Google Data Center, Lancaster High School is in the works now, out again on Route 37 North. The city water plant in Miller Park at the corner of 6th and Memorial Drive. That project is going to be going on for years. The city wastewater plants. The Lawrence Street plant was built about 100 years ago, I think in 1939 actually, and it hadn't been upgraded for 30 or 40 years, and we have that in the works. It should be completed sometime late this year. Again, a lot of construction workers. Also, our Campground Road, what we call the Upper Hocking water treatment plant. We're doubling the capacity up there, and a lot going on. That whole industrial, east or west side industrial park is alive with activity. So it's worth taking a drive out there. I've driven some friends out there several times who had never been out there, and they're just dumbfounded by what they see out there. Didn't realize it was all there. Trilogy, we talked about in multifamily housing. We currently have the Vision Development on North Columbus Street, and a lot of construction workers out there, and that's going to continue. Let's talk about housing. There's no question that housing is the city's big problem, and certainly the biggest disappointment that I and some of my other city administration folks have had, especially in 2020. The blue bar here shows the single-family housing, and that's been fairly consistent over the years. Multifamily housing hasn't been much, but in 2019, we had East Point out on the west side of town on West Wheeling Street by Fairfield Homes. In 2020, we had the flats on North Memorial Drive, 222 units. And in 2021, we had Vision Development on North Columbus Street. And these are the years when the building permits were issued. So most of the Vision construction happened in 2022 and into 2023. They should be built out by June, but this is when the permits were issued. 2022, we had no permits issued multifamily housing. Big disappointment. We work on it every single day trying to find developers to come in and build something here. So I want to say the city and county are working hard together to resolve this. Rick Sabrack and the county commissioners in the city talk very regularly. In fact, I had a discussion with Commissioner Fix this morning about housing, and we have a meeting tomorrow. Some folks that might have influence on that, but it's a big problem. We're trying to get there. Incidentally, while I'm on that subject, the city of Lancaster and the county commissioners have a wonderful relationship. That isn't common in the state of Ohio. There are cities, especially county seats, suing commissioners, and commissioners suing city, county seats, and it's not always a rosy picture. To appreciate the relationship that we have with our. So, multifamily units are full or have long waiting lists, low vacancy rates, and who's moving into these? One of the things that comments you get, especially on social media, and I have a Facebook page I post on, is who's going to live in these things? They cost too much. I think East Point was fully leased before it was finished. The flats, the original plan of the builder was to build phase one and then build phase two later. Phase one rented up so fast that they just continued straight through and did phase two, all rented up. Vision Development, they have about 50 apartments finished with certificate of occupancy. They have 75 signed leases. And Stephanie Bosco, our Port Authority director, and I had a meeting yesterday with one of the Vision representatives, and I asked him, who's moving into these places? So last evening, he sent me this information. Out of the 75 signed leases, 42 are from Ohio, but not in Lancaster. 12 are from outside of the state, and 21 are relocations from other Lancaster addresses. It's a very upscale community. The rents are high, but the demand is also. We need more type development. We need workforce. One of the things that we know, when there's more expensive housing, you get the automatic people move up, because there's been no place to move up to. If they're in less affluent development, let's say, they have nowhere to move because there's nothing available. So when something like Class Vision opens up, they move up, they upscale their residents, and then that opens up some affordable housing at the lower rent level. So workforce housing, affordable housing, market rate housing, we need all of it. High interest rates and material costs are the reason that we haven't been more successful. You know, interest rates, because of the economy have gone, I mean, single-family home rates were less than 3% not that long ago, and now they're 6 or 7%. Same thing goes with multifamily units, and even if they want to get a development loan to build out before they finish renting up and get permanent financing, it's very high. Supply chain issues have been a problem. You can't get material. They cost a fortune. Now, some of that stuff is starting to mitigate, so things are looking up, but we still don't have any commitments. Say again, we work every day to alleviate the problem. Sometimes frustrating, but our jobs that we're continuing to work together well with. So the Building Industry Association study released recently says that Fairfield County is going to need 9,000 new housing units by 2030. Not that far in the future. Lancaster will certainly be a site for a lot of those and in need of a lot of them. So we're working. It's a problem everywhere. It's not just in Lancaster, Columbus. All the suburbs are having the same issue. And certainly through the Central Ohio mayors, we're working together as a group with meetings. I know Commissioner Fick said he just attended a housing symposium that the Ohio Chamber sponsored, trying to figure out what we can do about it. And by the way, the projection for Fairfield County is the 4th highest need county in Central Ohio after Franklin, Delaware, and Licking. So projects that are out there and have at least been to Planning Commission and gotten approval are the 45 Epcon senior living homes on Granville Pike. That's north of OUL and Forest Grove School, back behind Bickford. They're moving ahead. Again, high demand thing. These are 55 and over homes. I believe construction will start sometime in the very near future, maybe summer. Recently at the Planning Commission were 12 market rate apartments on Whittier Drive, between Memorial Drive, Fairfield Christian Church. Single family homes, overlook out on West Fair Avenue, up on the hill behind Gypsy Joe's Ice Cream is a good way to describe it. There are lots being developed up there. And Arbor Homes is kind of a new arrival in Lancaster in the last year. And they are building single family homes and infill lots in old developments all around the city. Hunter's Trace on the east side off Rainbow Drive, even up in Overlook. So single family homes are continuing to go. We've actually had a couple building permits approved already this year for single family homes. So that continues to grow. The demand is high. The prices are unbelievable that they're able to sell these. And the Gateway project. So several years ago, Fairfield Homes acquired the Gateway site at the corner of Main Street and Memorial Drive and announced that they were going to build a multifamily development there. And before they could get started, supply chain issues hit, material doubled or tripled in price, and interest rates skyrocketed. So that was put off, like many other developments. But they have recently been rethinking this project. They have a new plan, which we can't disclose a lot about today, but we're working with them closely, as is Destination Downtown Lancaster and Amanda Everett. But I have been allowed a picture show. So they're still thinking multifamily housing and enhanced development from what they had in the past, and also probably a boutique hotel. So more plans to come, but this is a rendering of some of their architects' work that I've been allowed to show. There are others, but they are a little reluctant to get out in front of what their drawings and their plans. So, happy day. I don't think Jennifer Walters particularly wants to take calls from Amanda and I, because we are harassing her all the time and have been. That's part of our work on multifamily housing. Harassment is one of our things. Streets, how am I doing on time? I'm doing okay. So streets are a big deal in Lancaster, have been for many years. And fortunately, back in 2013, voters passed a 3 mil real estate tax levy to fund streets. LDOT, Transportation Department, does not get general money. They do not get any income tax money. So the only funds they have to pave streets from this levy. They can do a little bit of maintenance work. Their main sources of funding are gas tax fees, and prior to some people's belief, the city does not have a gas tax. It's a state tax, and I know that's gotten blamed for the weird gas prices in Lancaster. But the city does not have a gas tax. It's a state gas tax, so we get money from that. Also from license plate fees, voter-approved license plate fees, and also permissive fees, which again have to do with license on special vehicles, and other occasional grants from state or fed. So that levy passed in 2013 was for 10 years. It expires at the end of this year, December 31st. It yields between 2.1 million and 2.4 million per year. The way the real estate tax works is you are locked in to the rate that generates some money the year it's passed. So in 2013, it was certified to generate $2.1 million. The only increase you get is for new construction that happens in the city over that period, and occasionally it goes up or down because there are delinquent property taxes that get paid. I'm going to show you a graph of our but it's ranged between 2.1 and 2.4. So $2 million isn't what it was in 2000. Inflation has eaten into what we can do with that $2 million. So we can do less now than we could 10 years ago. So council has approved, and Board of Elections has approved, there will be a replacement 3 mil levy on the May 23 ballot. And it's projected to yield, certified by the county auditor, to produce $3.1 million a year. Will offset the impact of inflation over those years. And it's $3.1 million for 3 mills because when you replace it, you get credit for increases in market value of homes plus all the new construction. So we're going to get a little more than we did before, necessary. So what impact does that have? From 2015 to 2022, annual pothole complaints have declined pretty steadily over the years. They were 1,700 in 2015. And last year, they were only 350. The city's website has a pothole reporting form that you can go right on the website and report a pothole, location, whatever other information you have, or what the address, attach a picture. So we're happy that has happened, and we're making a lot of progress. So this graph shows what we've collected, what we've spent. So the orange bar shows the collections between $2.1 and $2.4 million over the year. The green bar shows what we've actually spent paving. Just on the surface, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. How do we spend so much money when we're only collecting 2.1 to? So that total collected over those years amounts to $20.6 million during those. We've actually spent $37 million, a little over $37 million, because the 3 mil levy funds can be leveraged for grants to get additional money. And some of those programs are Surface Transportation Program, Ohio Public Works Commission grant, ODOT Urban Paving Program, the ODOT Safety Program, which is used to do the upgrade of Edie Road from Columbus Street to Memorial Drive. And just recently, last year, we got a grant from the Central Ohio Planning Organization to do South Broad Street. First time Corpo ever got money, we applied for a grant, And one got funded. Turned out when we sent the bids out, they came back higher because of inflation and the oil prices. And we went back and asked them for more money, and we got more money. So we're happy about that. But without free mill levy, obviously we couldn't spend the $20 million to pave, and we couldn't leverage those funds for another $17 million to do all the work that we've done over the years. So the local match is important because all these grants have some kind of a local match. Done from 25% down to 5%. We don't have the money to fund the match, can't apply for the grant. So approving this replacement levy in May is extremely important to the city and to you, the people that drive on our street. You know, some people, I guess, expected that we could repave all the streets in 10 years for the money we're going to collect. First of all, that's not true, never was. And secondly, pavement doesn't last forever. It wears out. I think the state has a program to repave the state routes that go through town, 37, 22, every 6 or 7 years, something like that. And I think Main Street is slated to be repaved in 2025, I think. You know, they did 188 a couple of years ago. I think 37 is on the books for some time in the future. So the streets that we paved in 2014 are showing wear and tear. So they need to be retreated with sometime in the future. So it's an ongoing cycle, paving streets and fixing streets. So what have we done? I know there's a lot here to read, and I'm going to go through these really quick. This is streets we paved by year from 2014 on. So look quick. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Now you probably noticed that the list most recently are longer than the list earlier. That's because new technology and new techniques have allowed us to do more streets. And there's a wonderful thing called microsurfacing, that you can go back to a street that isn't that old but is starting to show some wear and put a real thin coat of asphalt, which prolongs the life of the street another 10 years or more. River Valley Highlands was recently microsurfaced over the last 2 years. Inside Autumn Drive was done in 21, and outside Autumn Drive was done in 22. If you live up there or driven up there, you know those are in pretty good shape. If we hadn't microsurfaced, we would have had to do something. We had to mill and fill, grind down the asphalt, and do resurfacing sooner than we will have to now. Microsurfacing is significantly cheaper than mill and fill, where we have to grind down the street and do it. So we are able to treat more streets recently with this new technology than have in the past. Now, no, all those were hard to see. So this is a graph, or a graphic that was done by our GIS. So the dark blue lines are the lines that have been resurfaced since 2014. Kind of surprising how many it is. In addition to that, the light blue lines, which I hope you can see up there, are all the alleys in the street. All the alleys in the city have been resurfaced with chip seal since 2014, some of them more than one. Why do we do alleys? Because it's important, because our garbage trucks travel down the alley and they got in pretty rough shape. So if a heavy garbage truck goes down an alley that's already in bad shape, it's only going to get worse. The holes are going to get bigger and deeper, and they're going to become lakes. So we did all the streets and we did all these. So it's a little hard to see, but the gray streets are the ones that haven't been done yet and will be done sometime in the future. And I will remind everybody that the mayor, city council members do not pick which streets get paved. It's our engineering department. And they have a strict criteria that they go by. There are 5 criteria that they look at, starting with Pavement condition rating, we pay an outside consulting firm to come in every 3 years and drive down every street in the city and do a pavement condition rating, which they give us. You can go on the city's website and see the condition of your street. It might be red, which is bad, yellow, blue, or green. And if your street isn't probably red or maybe yellow, it's not going to get paved anytime soon. Pavement condition reading, average daily traffic count. If we have 2 streets that are poorly rated, and one has 10 cars a day drive down it, and the other has 1,000 cars drive down it, guess which one's going to get paved? The one with 1,000 cars. Doesn't mean we won't get to the other one, but it may just take a little longer. Certainly, are we going to be doing work in the future? Are we going to be digging it up to put in a new gas line? Then we're not going to pave it. We're going to wait till it gets dug up, because nothing makes taxpayers unhappy quicker than paving a street and 6 months later you dig it up. Doesn't make any sense. So we're aware of that. Our engineering department, our utility departments work closely together to make sure that we don't do that. And then are we doing other work? So if we're in one neighborhood and we've got a street that qualifies this year but is way on the other side of town, we're probably going to do another street in the neighborhood where we are, because mobilization costs are less, the bid is less, if we can do streets in one large. Make sense? Did I miss anything, Tim? Good. So, 2023, what are we going to do in 2023? These are the streets that the engineers picked. By the way, where's the engineers? Back here. He's got a red tie on. These are the streets that are going to get paved this year. So when we put it out for bid, we have primary streets and we have alternate, because we don't know what the bid is going to come back at and how much can we do for the money we have. So fortunately, we got favorable bids. So not only are the primary streets, Talmadge, King, and Mount Pleasant, going to be paved within these bounds, but the alternates are also going to be. In addition, 6th Avenue is going to be finished from Maple Street to Cherry Street. Done that in 3 phases using Surface Transportation Program funds, which come from state and the feds. And we did from Roosevelt to Memorial 2 years ago, from Memorial to Maple last year, and this year we're going to be doing from Maple to Cherry. Might note that we dug up 6th Avenue. It was closed last year for way too long, although contractor did it in the period he promised, and we didn't have to implement liquidated damages, so we got it done. It's going to be paved. All good news. So in addition to this, the parks are going to pave the back loop of Rising Park. It's an additional alternate on here. You all know that in 2023, the parks renewal came up with an additional 0.1% tax. Parks, they have a huge, long deferred maintenance list. Can't do everything at once. They actually had 2 alternates for Rising Park. The back loop was $170,000. Front portion was $320,000, a total of $500,000. Despite the fact they've got some more money, they can't do all that at once. Getting the back half a back loop. So in addition to that, we are going to microsurface. These are the streets, a longer list, kind of concentrated over in the Hunter's Trace area, north of West Fair Avenue, just east of the Crown Court and Seal plant there. So that is North Ohio and Green Avenue, West Fair, Shimmer. And then there are some streets also up in the Overlook, Misty Meadows, some of that neighborhood is. I need to talk faster. Safety forces, another thing. So, in 2020, citizens were confident, kind enough to pass city income tax dedicated to safety. What are we doing? One of the issues is we were way down in staffing because we just didn't have money to replace people that left or retired. Current staffing, police is at 66. Full staffing is 75. They're working 2020. Both departments started out 2021 with 62. During that year, police fell to 58. I'll remember the police environment, national opinion about police. Fortunately, our citizens in Lancaster are very supportive of our safety force. We're extremely grateful. So police is at 66, going to 75. Fire is at 79 currently, going to 80. Capital investment plans. Fire department has 2 medics on order. They were originally supposed to be delivered in 2020. Supply chain issues, chip availability, et cetera. We're now expecting the first one to be delivered in May. The second one is some months after. They will not. Police department has 4 cruisers in order, or in the budget, in the budget for this year. We had a pretty serious problem this last year with cruisers. Back when we didn't have any money, we weren't able to replace 3 cruisers every year, which is the normal cycle that we use because we couldn't afford to. This summer, last summer, we had days when we didn't have enough cruisers to staff our full patrols on the street because they broke down, they have too many miles on them. They get a lot of miles, they're city miles, they're not road miles, they wear out. So we've got 4 in the budget. They have a plan as to how they're going to get those, and so we're working on getting back. Marks radio transition. So Marks is a radio system. It never really worked for us in the past because we didn't have enough tower coverage, and now the county commissioners are basically footing the bill. We're making a contribution for a new Marks tower up on Waterworks Hill. The tower down at the Southeast Correctional Facility has been increased in height, so it provides better coverage. So we are implementing Marks radios in the very near future. So all of our police and fire will be able to talk to the sheriff's department, all the township fire departments. Everybody will have good communication, which we don't have. Also have Tyler CAD software for dispatch that will be implemented. Planned implementation is in June. Every police vehicle, every fire vehicle will have this Tyler software on their tablet in their vehicle. It will provide much better communication, access, information, more instantaneous information. So, great problem. And again, thank the county commissioners paid for the Tyler software and a significant portion of the mark up. Firehouse. One of the things we wanted to do when we passed the additional safety forces is firehouse. Can't believe how hard it is to find location for a firehouse. We have had locations, we've had engineering work done to, vet certain locations around the city. First of all, we don't want to build it anywhere. We want to build it where it's needed, and on the west side is the place. We're still working. We have a new location that we've pursued. Haven't gotten any definite answer yet, but we're working on it. Hopefully, sometime this year, before my term is up, we can say we have a location for a new firehouse. Great thing. Police headquarters, a lot of problems recently with infrastructure there. The HVAC went out last summer, and if you ever noticed, there was a big, huge portable unit sitting in the police parking lot providing air conditioning. But one time it got up in the high 90s inside that building last year before they could get the portable unit. And fire department progress, we now have the 4th medic staffed full-time. It has been staffed part-time in the last number of months just because we didn't have enough firefighters to do it. We are now keeping it staffed full-time. We do have to pay a little overtime in order to do that. Community paramedics programs in place, which means that our paramedics go out and follow up with frequent flyers. Yes, we have frequent flyers that all the squad, all the time, I can't get up, whatever. And so our paramedics now go out and visit these people and see if they need some social services help, some additional medical help, and they refer them out to some other source. Fire department calls this year, 10,250, or 2022, 10,250, up from 9,600 in 2021. Obviously, the majority of those medic calls, 1,300 of them were fire runs and about 9,000 medic. Police department, Chief Snyder has restructured the operation of the department for better efficiency. We now have a direct patrol unit working and on the street, and we have our first K-9 unit. The dog here has been trained. The handler has been trained. You'll shortly start seeing it out on the street. Big plus for us and for the capability of so police had 58,250 calls in 2022, up from 50,821. Seems like a huge increase, but pre-COVID, we were handling about 60,000. So it's gradually getting back up to pre-COVID days. Safety forces investment, and you can see the blue line is police expenditures and the red is fire expenditures. In 2021, we were able to increase the budget to handle things. This is actual expenditures for 2021. So they didn't spend all their budget that year. We didn't budget for full staffing because we knew they couldn't get there. In 2022, we did budget for full staffing, and it's pretty obvious that they didn't get there. The black, what budgeted and bars were actually spent. 23, again, the budget is up. Budgeted for full staffing, some other things like fixing the HVAC in the police department. And both chiefs are confident they are going to get the full staffing here. Planning for the future. So, we have a bright future. A lot of things going on, a lot of economic development, and we need to plan for it. So, these are things that the city has in process to plan for the future, handle growth, improve things like water quality in the city of Lancaster. Miller Park Water Treatment Plant, $95 million project, kicked off last year, November, expected completion date 2025. It will bring us same technology for water treatment that the South Water Treatment Plant down in Sugar Grove has. The original plant, the south end of Miller Park, 100 years old. It has old technology coming into the 20th century. Upper Hocking wastewater plant expansion, $40 million, been underway for some time, scheduled completion 2024. The Lawrence Street plant, that's our 1939 plant, is undergoing a rebuild, $22 million, will be finished later this year. Sanitation department, a new transfer station, will go out to bid sometime this year, completed next year. You may know that the transfer station was down for a week or so recently because it's old and it breaks. A lot of moving parts. The new operation will be much less complex. Campground Road pump station and force mains. Campground Road is out West Side Industrial Park. $10 million completed in 2024, and the lateral D 30-inch sewer expansion from Wilson Road over to Anchor Avenue on Mill Park. Anchor Avenue is right by Agna and South. In addition to that, Lancaster High School has a new high school under construction. It's about a $125 million project. May leak a little higher than that, I understand, but completion is 2025. So again, if you go out 37, Granville Pike North, a lot of stuff going on out there. And yeah, I told Jerry I'm surprised he wasn't out there digging ditches this morning to get that project moving. Gas department hasn't been left behind. This is a graphic of their upgrades over the years. The red is what has been main lines that have been replaced since 2013, 99,000 feet of main line and 2,400 services into the homes have been upgraded. In progress in the current program, 30,600 feet of main, 780 some new services into homes, and the next phase will be what's green up there from 24, 28, 3,700 foot of main replaced, 1,763 new services into homes. So a lot of work, a lot of plans. We're confident, we're moving forward. Some announcements, we had some retirements this past year. Mike Pettit, the Port Authority Executive Director and City Development Director, retired in June. Stephanie Bosco is his replacement. You may have seen something on social media about that. Mitch Noland, our city engineer, went to work for county engineer in a new position he created. Kurt Chonk is his replacement, has been a longtime assistant city engineer and is a very capable replacement. Greg Hintz retired just recently as the LDOT superintendent, replaced by Tim Dietz. Bob Wolfinger retired in September as city treasurer. Tom Stoughton is his replacement. And Mike Tharp left us in the summer, and Steve Gayfield. In addition to that, we have a couple new departments this year. We broke out the GIS department because it is so critical to our other city departments and all the software they use. Scott Snyder is the new GIS manager, and a new planning and zoning department broken out from the building department. And we finally have a city planner, the first time ever. We're happy to note another way we're getting into the 21st century. Felicia Fayeda is our new city planner, and Pete Bale is our zoning manager. Economic development, what's public that we already know about? Google, certainly, it's out there. Toyota, I talked about earlier. Trilogy, 125 jobs. Turba, talked about, big things coming in Allegar. Things that we know about that might not be so public is Anchor Trucking has plans to implement and put in service their third tank this year, hiring another 100 employees before the end of the year. Blue Label, who's already done a lot to add more jobs, is going to take on a new product line. They're going to be adding more infrastructure and plant space soon, maybe not this year. CFM Global, again, we talked about them adding a fiberglass line. And Clear Sky Health, the announcement was made quite a while ago about a rehab hospital built across the street from Target in front of what used to be First Urgent Care. I just talked to them yesterday saying what's going on. They have 6 new hospitals coming online in the next 4 months, so they're a little bogged down right now. But they will be here sometime this year with the groundbreaking and getting started on that building. Pipeline issues. There are things in the works that all know economic development is extremely confidential. There are things in the works we can't talk about, but they're out. We are currently planning. The Port Authority Board and Stephanie are working on plans for a new spec building. Our existing spec, or our prior spec building was purchased by Toyota, and we hope to be able to get started on a 50,000 square foot spec in the near future. It's extremely important for economic development to have a building. Intel, everybody's heard about Intel. They're under construction up in New Albany. We have had visits from Intel suppliers. We know they're coming. No Intel suppliers have made commitments, none, anywhere in Central Ohio yet. Intel is undergoing kind of a rough patch right now. I just read in the Wall Street Journal this morning that they've cut their current quarter dividend by 66%. Chip business is in the tank right now because of the world economy. It will come back. They haven't slowed down on their construction, and we know that we will be hearing more from Intel suppliers in the near future. So to some, only a minute late. I don't know if Travis left. He's still here. State of the city is strong. We are optimistic that it will continue that way. Our financial position is good, and we have a great staff, said earlier, optimistic, and we are getting ready for the. So with that, I will conclude my remarks and let Travis get out of here. So thank you.
David, thanks for your presentation today. And on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, we want to thank you, Mayor Scheffler, I've been around too long, apparently. Several mayors. I want to thank Mayor Scheffler for your partnership over the years. Certainly, you're not done in office yet, but we've enjoyed the partnership. And also want to thank you and Christy for agreeing to host next year's event in Florida at your Fort Myers location. So we'll all be down to see you next spring. So that concludes the 2023 State of the City address given by Mayor Scheffler. And I appreciate you all joining us today. Have a wonderful day. It's beautiful outside, and we'll look forward to seeing you next event. Thank you.